So to start this video discussing the immaterial side of culture portrayed in Revolution, I'd like to start out with something that if it's not truly a pure positive aspect of the film, I'd at least like to applaud Al Pacino for trying, and that is the topic of accents. Definitely the film has a mixed job on this topic, but I think it's interesting to note that Pacino, though he was very heavily criticized for his character Tom Dobbs' accent, tried to not give in to the desire that we'll discuss shortly, faced by many actors and filmmakers making historical films, to just do a prototypical old-timey sounding accent. He actually apparently tried to get things right.
Ned, get your sausage, then douse the fire. Go ahead, son. We was bringing furs down the river. You could hear the city a mile off. New York, going crazy.
So there's the voice of Pacino's character. He said in a Market Watch, an interview quoted in Market Watch pretty recently, I believe 2018, that, I quote, "I really got slaughtered for the accent, but you do the research. I wanted to get as close as I could to how New Yorkers spoke 200 years ago. I remember thinking, I really worked on it. They didn't say that about Scarface when I did a Cuban accent. When I see the film, I'm not critical of my accent. I'm critical of other things I do in the movie, of course, but at the same time, that movie is really special." So, Pacino's accent definitely stands in contrast to other accents in the film.
They're all somebody's sons, mister, and they're all willing to shed their blood fighting tyranny. Ask your boy, who's war? All right, let's move on. No, sit down. Come, let's move on. Here ain't this war. Come to your first me.
So as you can see, perhaps Pacino accepted, most of the film's characters do seem to try really hard to make things quote-unquote old-timey, and perhaps this part of this is because it's filmed in England. Nonetheless, though, and this is a common thing you see actors in historical films do, is they speak with pretty modern British accents, because many viewers, and probably both in England and America, based on the BBC article that you'll see linked here, tend to associate that sort of upper crust British-y accent with older periods in history. However, it's important to note that, of course, travelers noted multiple different ways of speaking when they came to North America in this period. But more importantly, linguists believe that the standard accent of the British American era was actually much more similar to the modern standard American vernacular accent than it is to the modern standard British accent. So why does this matter? Well, again, I think filmmakers are attempting to establish a romantic and or archaic separation or otherness of their characters from people today. However, by inserting a major difference like this, when the difference isn't that drastic, a thing like language, it really is misleading. I mean, the 18th century in the grand scheme of history was relatively recent, and there are a lot of similarities between then and now that affect the development of our society. So by having incorrect stereotypical accents, filmmakers distance their viewers from the reality that was the past. So another aspect of immaterial culture that really stands out in Revolution is, well, the action. This is an Al Pacino movie, and there are some pretty big set battles. Even if they don't take up a huge portion of the film, there's still definitely some depictions of warfare that are seen in the film. And so, well, how accurately does this film portray warfare? Well, not. British soldiers are disorderly. In the presence of officers, British soldiers just walk around the battlefield sometimes with no clear purpose. They don't fight in proper close formation. They're disorderly. Their uniforms are ill-fitted. And we know that officers in the British Army were really making sure these things didn't happen. And you could argue that, well, do we really know how British soldiers would fought? But yes, we do. There's several books, actually, written by British officers, such as Bennett Cuthbertson, that outline how armies should fight. But there's an official manual for executing battles and marching and drill. And you can actually see that when Donald Sutherland's character is commanding soldiers, he's taking phrases from this manual, such as present arms, or make ready, but he's using them in the wrong way. Like, if you actually read the manual, they don't line up. And I'll include a link to that manual after this video. And so, by not showing the orderly, powerful force that the British Army was, that's really misleading, because they were one of the most powerful armies on the planet in the 18th century. Also, what is this? Look, the guys in the back are pointing their loaded muskets at the heads of the men in the front. That doesn't make any sense, and certainly doesn't agree with military manuals at the time. The other thing that's a bit misleading is showing the Americans as, well, completely and utterly undisciplined, at least early on. Now, yes, certainly, as is evident in Joseph Plum Barton's account of the Battle of Long Island, one of the battles actually depicted in this film, there was some lack of discipline and lack of experience among American troops. However, Americans are constantly portrayed in this movie as ragtag, ununiformed, unskilled soldiers who just kind of form up willy-nilly and don't have proper positions. You hardly see officers anywhere. It doesn't portray Americans as a professional fighting force either. Which, again, some of them weren't, but we know many of the people commanding soldiers in these battles, including, of course, George Washington, had extensive military experience, and it's really just not fair to portray all Americans, even early in the war, as having no military experience at all. Again, this is just kind of playing into prototypical tropes rather than trying to explore interesting little-known aspects of this period that would be really interesting to see explored in a film.